And hello, welcome to the Year of EverQuest stream. I'm Schueller, Roshan, EverQuest Community Manager. I'm joined with 3 other individuals I'll let introduce themselves. They probably don't need introduction, but we'll do that anyways. And we're here to talk about our memories with EverQuest, either endgame or working with the product for a lot of years. I mean, more than 15 for, I think, all of you. But, okay, let's start with you, Jeff.
Hi. I'm Jeff Butler. I'm the creative director of Landmark and EverQuest Next. Back in the day, in 1999, I was the first lead GM for EverQuest, became the customer service manager, and then I became the producer. Ruins of Kunark, Scars of Velius, Shadows of Lucklin.
And I'm Rosie Rappaport, and I was the first art director. I guess I was the first artist on EverQuest. I'm not sure exactly what year, but I think it's been 18 years since I started. I was the 3rd person on the team, I think, 3rd or 4th. It was me, Brad, and Steve Clover, and Bill Trost. And it's been a crazy ride.
Okay, so I'm Thom Terrazas. I've been with Sony and on EverQuest for many years. I started as a customer service person, a lead GM under Jeff. And I came over to kind of do an interview with Jeff, and he checked for a pulse, and he said, "You're hired." And I'm just kidding. There was fog on the mirror. But I was the first GM on Tunari, which was kind of cool. And I ran into a senior guide today that was under me back then for the first time in person. It was pretty cool. And I was in customer service for, I guess, about 5 years, 6 years, and moved into development about I want to say 2008. No, 2005. I've been in development longer than I was in CS.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things that blew me away today here at SOE Live, I had players approach me asking me questions about specific incidents and things that occurred back in the original days of EverQuest, back in 1999, and very specific stuff, like how did the code work in certain situations? How was this particular customer service issue resolved? And what were you guys thinking about it on your side of the game? So to say that people do not forget that these games live and breathe, nothing could be more true. Even in this case, both people, this was their first SOE Live, and they started playing EverQuest 15 years ago. Still had questions for us about those days.
And I think that's the neat thing about coming out to SOE Live, is coming out here because people do have their own stories. They come here and they share it with us when they have the opportunities, but you hear people in the hallways talking about it with EverQuest 2, people who are now new to our family and getting in here with Landmark and excited for things with Next. It's, just really cool hearing people's stories and hearing how they've gotten into it and who's brought them into it and how they've become part of our family here.
Absolutely true. After 15 years of EverQuest, I dare say there's still people who show up here at an SOE Live and meet somebody that they played with on their particular server, and they had never met in real life, never become friends, but they remember playing with one another in the game all the way back then. It's very awesome. Yeah,
I remember a situation. I was playing. We worked as customer service people for 8 hours of the day, like from 1 to 9. And sometimes a little later, we would stay after work and play. And then we had night GMs. You might remember old lady DeGarmo as one of our night GMs. And I'm having the darndest time in like South Row where I'm just getting keel-steeled all the time. And it's really pissing me off. And I must have just yelled out at one point. And Gary looks over and says, "What's going on over there?" I said, "Well, I got this guy who just won't leave me alone." And what server are you on, Thom? I'm like, "Well, I'll put in a petition, no big deal." He shows up, poof, and starts giving this guy the business, pulls me into a room too, and he's talking to both of us, said, "You both need to knock it off." I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing? I'm sitting right next to you talking to you about this, and now you're giving me the riot act too." But actually, I was able to get some some kills that night, which was nice. So, wasn't using the power of a CS person too much, but yeah, it helped. It helped.
I was going to say one of the coolest things about coming here to SOE Live and talking to the fans is how many people say that they met the love of their life in EverQuest and they met their spouse and now they're bringing their kids. And I've seen so many people, well, not that many, but I mean, it blows me away, these 3 generations of players that are coming to SOE Live now. And in fact, last year at the breakfast buffet, I had breakfast with these 2, a mother and a daughter, and they had to move to different parts of the country, but they still played EverQuest together every night, and that was the way that they hung out together, and they had like an activity to do, and it's really touching, I think, to be a part of something that is so powerful in that way, that brings people together and helps them to be creative and have fun together.
No, I mean, I agree. We did the live quest this morning for EverQuest, and same thing you're talking about. People who have been involved, engaged for so long since the early fanfares, they're coming out and they're bringing their kids. They're bringing, I mean, the kids are bringing their grandparents, but again, like 3 generations participating on a team together for a live quest.
Yeah.
And they're telling stories like, well, I remember at fanfare the live quest was this way, and this is this way, and sharing that, not just an experience around inside the game, but sharing, coming to these events and spending time with their friends and people that they meet through Sony.
Yeah.
And when you really talk about family, I mean, for instance, in 2000, pretty sure it was 2000, we had a fanfare in Orlando, and I walked up to this character that was in full costume, this crazy dwarven armor that was super detailed, and I looked close. It's about that big. She had a beard. And she walked up to me, she started talking to me in a Scottish accent, basically accosted me like as if she was a dwarf, with like a big mug of beer in her hand, and that's brass. She didn't work for us, she was a player. She showed up to play in the live quest, and she put on this crazy dwarven armor, put on a beard, glued on a beard, and ran around acting like a female dwarf the entire day. And now she's our community service manager and has been for years, right? So you talk about an extended family. It's not just an issue of the people who we've played with over the years. Many of them have actually joined Sony Online Entertainment, had a love for the game and the things that we were doing, and became part of our crew here. It's very cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Many of the people that work at SOE do it because they were fans and they really had the passion, and that's what they wanted to do with their lives. And so they're like, you know, the ideal employees too, because they just love the game.
I think it's important to love what you do. I mean, it's a creative work, and doing something that's creative, like you have to have a love for it, because otherwise you're not going to do something super awesome if you don't feel super awesome about what you're doing.
Yeah, you just want, I mean, the passion has to be there in order to really do an amazing job.
What's kind of an interesting thing, right? I mean, you had the good fortune of being one of the original developers on EQ. Thom and I both were just fans of EverQuest. And I remember when I first started working at Verint, before EverQuest had released, people were working hard on the game, they were crunching, we were in beta, and when the developers had a chance, they played the game. When I first started talking to Brad and Andy and Hutch and you, there was a vision for what was going to happen, but I was shocked that people who were working on the game at that time didn't realize just how big of a success EverQuest was going to be.
Oh, no, yeah. There was no clue. I mean, we were hoping, we said if we had 70,000 in the game,
that's exactly
it was like
what I
a
was going to
smash
say.
Success.
Yep.
And it just so far exceeded anything that we thought. And I remember within the team at the time, there was a lot of debate about whether this was going to work or not.
So at the time, amongst other things, I had a cyber cafe. And when I started playing EverQuest in beta, everyone that I knew was super, super jealous, right? Because you had to have an inside information. You had to have something crazy to get into the early beta. In my case, I had a fiber optic cable modem literally before almost anyone in the country.
Yeah.
I knew the VP of Roadrunner operations in a test city. And so I got a fiber optic cable modem in my house and in my business. And when I put that on my EverQuest beta app, they called me on the phone and they were like, seriously? They were like, tell us the details. Okay, you're in beta. I was one of the first 32 people who got to play in beta.
I remember hearing about you from Brad before you even started.
And so what ended up happening in my cyber cafe, guys who work at Sony Online Entertainment right now, like Ryan Elam, who works on our Landmark game, he showed up at my cyber cafe, and I gathered a crowd. I sat during the day playing EverQuest, and I had an entourage behind me of people who were watching the game.
Are you serious? Is that where Ryan Elam came from?
That's where Ryan Elam came
No
from.
way.
That Kelsey McNair,
Oh, yeah, Kelsey.
our artist
Yeah.
on Landmark. I met him when he was 13 years old. He walked up to me with his comic book collection and said, "Hey, I'm a big fan of Sam Keith, and I see you have Sam Keith comics here. I'm a big Magic the Gathering player. I'm interested." We played Magic the Gathering in our store, so I got to know Kelsey. He eventually worked for me as an employee, and you know, he and so many other people joined our industry. And one of the reasons why they did it was they were fanatic fans of EverQuest, right?
I remember Kelsey was telling me about you, and he said that whatever Jeff was into, it was like all the kids would be like, "Oh, this is the cool new thing," because Jeff was like kind of trailblazing in games.
Yep. So literally, I would sit there at my cyber cafe. Half the chairs in my business would be arranged behind me. Nobody could get to the bathroom because the chairs were in the way. They'd have to run the gauntlet of people watching me play EverQuest every day. And this lasted for months. So I had the benefit of knowing at that time, I had kind of an innate sense of how huge EverQuest was going to be because everyone that I knew wanted to play the game. And we didn't come to the game, we didn't put on our resume because we thought it would be cool to be game developers. We applied and we wanted to be a part of EverQuest because we knew how huge it was going to be. And the same is true of Thom and I. It was one of those, it was easy to interview Thom. You just look at the guy and say, "Tell me how you play EverQuest."
Well,
tell me.
So actually what happened was I started working on sports games, and I was a sports nut, and finished one product, testing was done, it was shipped, there was a lull in the schedule, walked over. During that time, I would walk by the EverQuest testing computers, and I'd go, "What is this game?" "Oh, it's kind of one of those Dungeon and Dragon, for nerds." I'm like, I got football and baseball here. I'm good to go. Each day, I'd keep looking at it, and I'd say, "What is he doing there? That's pretty cool." Next day, it was like, "Can I play?" So it was just something that wasn't done before. It was amazing, and it just kind of grabbed your interest, and you wanted to play. Everybody was excited, and you could just see the office was just booming with excitement, and everybody working just god-awful hours just because of the passion they had. And probably, I remember seeing a quote from Rosie before. It was like, I don't know if I could make this. I don't know if I can. Are we going to ship? Is this thing really going to happen? And but yeah, it's been a great ride. I've really enjoyed it. Had some great stories. And what I like about working for Jeff is we made up customer service protocols on the fly at times. And one of the stories I told Rye about was, we had people we were able to kind of give the same last name. You couldn't have the same last name in the game unless you had help from a customer service person. And we have two people get married. We give them the same last name. Then we started getting petitions for people, "Hey, I don't want to be married to this person anymore. I need my name changed." And we're like, "What do we do?" And literally, we all worked in the same area. Our chair just backed up into everybody. And it was like, "Hey, guys, how do we do a name change for a divorce?" And somebody would lean back and say, "I don't know. Have them duel for it. Death to us part. Let them die and then change their name." I'm like, "Cool. All right, that's a new procedure to do that." So it was a good time.
And on the development team as well, at one point, a little known fact, we all shared a single bullpen with they were like open cubicles. It was made for 4 people. And there were 11 of us in there all working. And that's kind of how we did it, too. We were all back to back, kind of like, "Oh, how are we going to do this thing? Oh, I don't know." But it was really good for collaboration. But at one point, I think Steve Clover got the flu, and everybody got sick. Because we were so, compacted together.
Yep.
And working all night long, often.
Yes. It was definitely the Wild West, like Thom said. We were all huge gamers. We were big EverQuest fans. We were We were trying to put together great customer service and great development as best we can. There was so much emergent behavior and emergent gameplay. You know, as we moved forward, we were learning about how to react and respond to all that stuff. One of the things that really surprised me, I had heard about that little bullpen, and we thought, oh, you know, with EverQuest the way it is right now, we'll never have that problem again. And then in the middle of Luckland, as we were rolling forward, we were like, we've got this great opportunity to do content. Oh my God, there's a lot of zones here. And we filled up 3 people to a cube for a very long period of time. So we would literally be there at 2 o'clock in the morning, all sources of Red Bull near Sony Online Entertainment. Literally every one. Every gas station, every grocery store, every place that we could legitimately drive to during working hours and turn around and come back had been completely cleaned out of Red Bull. I had a child's outdoor tub, like a giant pool that you would fill with sand or water, filled with ice. And stacks of Red Bull that we had just burned through. And we got to the point after a couple of weeks of crunching that we couldn't get any more Red Bull. And we were like, what are we going to do? And people were like 2 o'clock in the morning, like ready to drop 3 to a cube while we're trying to put together Shadows of Luckland.
You're making me want a Red Bull right now.
Yes. We could use a Red Bull right now here in Las Vegas. It's been busy. Yeah. The Apocalypse drinks last night were pretty potent at the zombie prom, I have to say, for sure.
I just think there's a lot of neat stories, like coming from this, and I mean stories we have, but I think players too. Like players come and share their stories. I think where you're talking about the being in beta, something I see shared on social media every time we go out with something like, what does your EQ collection look like? What do you have? They have the beta CDs because you couldn't download a beta. So they've saved these things because beta would change, they would get a new disc because they couldn't just patch their game, not with how, you know, internet speeds and everything back then. And I think it's just very cool that people have held on to this stuff, that this is something that's important to them, that they have neat memories. Or when you guys were doing the signing today, people bringing not just those posters, but things that they brought from home and wanted to, you know.
Their maps, that was a big one. People brought a lot of maps from various games.
But I just think it's very cool that people have held on to this stuff, but not like I'm going to keep this pristine. They want you guys to touch it. They want to have you guys make your mark on that because, I mean, we've made marks on people's lives. That this game, the community, has made a mark on each other's lives.
You know, it's actually very interesting. A lot of people here today at SOE Live have said to me, "Oh, you know, you've got to be tired. People have asked you so many questions. You probably don't want to answer anymore. Don't let us bother you. We'll just ask you one question." No, they don't understand. It has been an honor to work on this project for the last 15 years. I was one of them at one point in time. I had an opportunity to join this company and to become a part of the development of EverQuest. It was the best, the most incredible opportunity that I've ever had in my entire life. And this is literally the perfect opportunity to go back and hang out with the players and simply talk about what we do, to share stories, the games we played, the servers we played on, the trials and tribulations of our classes and the balance and everything that happened there, and all of the things that we've done. There's no amount of time, there's no situation here at SOE Live where people talking to me about what we've done is an imposition. This is the best opportunity that we get to hang out and have fun with people, and because we are one of those people. We just happen to be working on the game. So their stories and their ideas, that's fuel. We carry that stuff back with us. Their opinions, what they ask for, that's how I stand up in a meeting and say, guys, I think that this feature is really important to the game. I think it's important, but it's not just me. I have heartfelt requests from players who believe that, you know, for the challenge of the game and for the balance of the game, that this is the right decision. So I bring it to you, the design staff or the artists or the programmers, and say, let's go forward with this, right? It's my opinion, and it's a collective opinion that we gather, right? And that's why we're here.
I just think, because we are very engaged with the community, that, I mean, on forums or different things that you guys are doing now, getting feedback from the community, or, I mean, talking about Zombie Prom, you guys are all out last night talking to players, at Zombie Prom and afterwards, still out there, still talking to players with your zombie makeup on, but I just think it's super neat that you guys are available to people, that you guys, you're answer tweets, that you guys stay up at night. Yes, I know it's kind of a beat that you don't have your Red Bull right now, but you're still awake and you're still going, and it's really cool.
Red Bull is in our future, I believe. Now, I want to touch base on the passion that you're talking about. When we were doing the signing today, we had a couple at our table, and their comment was, wow, this is our first fanfare that we've attended, and I am shocked that we can sit here and talk to you. You guys are approachable. You answer tweets. You answer forums, and all hours of the night, like you mentioned, but we can talk to you. We're sitting down talking to you right now. And that kind of feeling that even I had as a customer service person, when Rosie was working on the dev side, we kind of worked in different little wings, and they were gods to us. It's like, wow, I want to work on the game one day. And it was exciting. And I don't think they knew that. They were probably like, I need a Red Bull. And then we were like, man, I want a Red Bull too. But it was awesome. And the players felt that way too. When I was a GM, that was the funnest time because of what you did. You allowed us to be the face of the company and be that front person that they waited to talk to help them with their issues. And that kind of made us feel like gods too, because at one point, we literally would come onto the server at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'd have all these great volunteer guides that are even here today taking notes for us during the day. And we'd come on and like, all right, yeah, I'll get with that corpse issue, no problem. Okay, let me get my coffee. Hold on. Yeah, just give me a minute, okay? I'll get that, yeah. We didn't act that way to the customers, but it made us feel very important for this game. It was the passion that the players had for the game that touched base on trying to connect to people on the dev team and then to our faces of asking for help. It was huge.
But again, I think it's more than just developers are making this thing and we're just going to just throw it out there and see what sticks. Like, players are part of the process, guides are part of the process. I mean, especially with Landmark and Next, being very open with this from a very early process and getting feedback from the community and sometimes changing directions in big ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that Thom will remember one of the original GMs, a guy by the name of Jake Sones. So we both work with Jake off and on over the years. Jake worked at Sony Online Entertainment on a bunch of different iterations of EverQuest. He eventually left to go work at Blizzard, where he worked on Diablo 3, and now he's back working on EverQuest Next and Landmark, working with us. A few weeks ago, he brought into me a stack of paper, and he was like, I have this stack of paper, and I've cherished it. And I wanted to show it to you. I ran across it in my apartment a couple days ago. I was like, what is it? He said, this is a printout. It's a transcript of what my players said to me the evening that I departed my server on the last day that I was a game master. Wow. And it is literally a stack of paper. He printed out all of his logs, and he has kept that for literally 14 years, right? And he still considers it a cherished treasure. And I read every page that he gave me, and just a heartfelt outpouring of emotion from his players. These things bind us together as a family, right? The opportunity to work in this environment has been absolutely amazing. It's one of the things that fuels me when we sit down and talk about what we're going to do in Landmark and EverQuest Next. And I know how we're going to make EverQuest better going forward. That's why we're here. It's literally the juice that pushes us forward on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I have literally this list now that people have just been telling me from walking around and being in the panels. I want red brick, and I want fabric is a huge one, but people just making their requests. And last year, this lady was telling me she made a request at SOE Live, and then it got into the game a few months later, and she felt like really proud because that she made that happen. And I think we're trying to capture that feeling even more now, is making the players part of the development process and polling what they want and having votes on what they want and really trying to tap into them as a creative influence into what we're doing.
Well, I mean, Ed Harding was telling the story where he's talking to Player. Player has this really great idea, and Ed immediately pulls his phone out and starts like typing a note because he doesn't want to lose it. And the player's like, "Who are you texting? I thought we were talking about this." And Ed was just so excited about the idea, so excited about talking to that player that he just wanted to make sure he's keeping that idea in his head.
Yeah, yeah, because these guys they know what, I mean, they are the pulse of what's going on.
Yeah, and you touch base on the polls and talking with the players on what they want. You know, we are changing. We're doing things differently now where we're, you know, even EverQuest after 15, 16 years, we have our Sense Heading forum where we're posting, you know, basically kind of like a blueprint of what we're doing for the very near future and what we're driving to. And they're part of the feedback, asking questions. And Rye, you do a great job of helping us out to make sure we don't miss a question that needs to be answered. So, yeah, it's the passion. It's the emotion that the players remember at that moment. Jake, you know, it was just that feeling he got from feeling just so proud of the job he did and what people thought of him in doing that job. You can't forget that. And we have had a lot of emotion in these games. You know, we pour our heart and souls into them. And, you know, you just get kind of proud of what you do. It's pretty nice, you know, when you can change the way that somebody feels, that you've listened to what she wanted, you got the objects in game or the, you know, the fabric. That says a lot to her. I'll bet you she's going to be playing that game for quite a long time.
Oh, yeah, and already has been. I tweeted yesterday I was wearing my dev t-shirt, you know, and I just had this feeling of being so proud. Like, I get to wear this shirt, and one time per year, it's like, that's like a really big deal to people. So it's like being a star for like 2 days out of the whole year. And it's just perfect because you don't get inundated all year long. But I remember all those years ago, like 16, 17 years ago, driving home like at 2, 3 in the morning and just feeling so tired. But I really felt like this huge sense of accomplishment. I would stay because sometimes there were problems and they needed to be solved. And I could not go home a broken person with like something broken in my work. I wanted to fix it and go. And it's amazing to know it was all for something.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember back in the day. So Tom's wearing his EverQuest shirt. He used to have an EverQuest baseball cap. Now, this is back in the day when EverQuest baseball caps didn't exist. Like, I had like one of 5. I think I stole it from Don Vercelli, and he was like, "Give me that back." It had 3DFX on the back of it. Remember them? Oh, yeah. Most people don't, right? 3DFX.
Yeah.
So 3DFX had given Don the hat, and I'd stolen it from his office. And I walked onto a plane late. My seat was open. And as I walked down the aisle of the plane, several people stood up, and they were like, "EverQuest!" They're like, "Who are you? Why do you have an EverQuest hat on?" I was like, "I work on the dev team." So like for the rest of the flight, people were like shouting at me from the other areas of the plane stuff about EQ, and I'm like turning around like as soon as I can take my seatbelt off, and I'm like talking to people across the plane about EQ. It was an absolute amazing phenomenon. That powers us today, right? And I mean, I see people who come up to me today to talk about Landmark and EQ Next, and they're like, "Hey, I'm playing Landmark." Introduce, we talk. Like, this is my first MMO. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh my
there's been quite
God.
a few people that this is their first SOE Live. They're playing Landmark.
Yeah, first SOE Live, first Landmark, and the sense that it's starting again, that we're kicking off another multiple generation where we've got people who come up to us and say, "Hey, I'm an EverQuest player, then I was an EverQuest 2 player, and now I'm playing Landmark, waiting for EverQuest Next. This is my son and my grandson." And the entire family has a history of EverQuest, and they're now playing Landmark together, and they offer us their opinions about what they want to see next, what we're doing, what we've said in the panels. It's absolutely amazing.
I think it's funny how many people EverQuest has touched. I mean, this was not that long ago. Me and Maggie were at Chipotle. We had those the shirts that we got during the Year of EverQuest campus event. And the manager sees that. The manager's like, "I used to play EverQuest all the time." Like, he doesn't anymore. He's like, "But you guys, you get to work, you still do that?" and like comped out our burritos. Like comped out our burritos. And he's like, I love gamers. I love what you guys have done. Like for me, just have a great time. And it's just so weird. Like we talk, a lot of this we're talking about is things that have happened 15 years ago, but it's still happening now. Like, well, what is that guy doing at Chipotle? Like with that much history, and just he remembers, he cares, and he wants to give back. And players, even this weekend, like want to meet other people, want to help other people, want to give back to their community, or have stories of someone who gave back that helped them get to this SOE Live because they had a hard time. Norbert, I think his name, the GM, or sorry, guide, EverQuest guide. They did like a crowdfunding to get him here. He couldn't afford to come here. Yeah. He's had issues with, some number of his own personal expenses, and they just wanted to make sure he can come here. And he was a dark elf on our live quest this morning.
Awesome, awesome.
Very cool.
Hey, where is that Chipotle? I want to get the address.
Yes.
Yeah, get your
burrito-powered development. Free burrito-powered development. I like that idea. It's pretty cool.
Let's see. Yeah, we go way back, Jeff. I remember, stories upon stories, and I don't know, how long we can go or what we're allowed to tell.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Our craziest stories are about the wild west of early development and CS and the challenges really that come when you're drawing in this case a customer service pool of people who were local. We weren't paying our customer service people a lot at the time. It is Southern California, so we were struggling to keep up our head count to make sure we can answer all the petitions. We were working with our volunteer guides to try to keep everyone in the game rolling, right? Make sure that they weren't stuck, make sure that they weren't killing each other or hacking each other's accounts, things of that nature. But it was crazy time. I remember many nights where it was like 17-hour days.
Lollipop? Bring back any familiar memory?
Yeah, but
Lollipop Guild?
Oh my God, the Lollipop Guild, yes. Oh, I remember. It's one of those things. So a lot of our GMs, this was their first job. Just fresh out of college, the first responsibility that they had ever been given. And Thom and I and the other lead GMs, we tried to impress upon them the importance of responsibility.
Well, I was an idiot myself. I was 27.
Were you Archie Bunker? Were you Archie Bunker?
I cannot confirm nor deny that.
Yes. So, yes, that is the only time I ever yelled at you.
I probably doubt that, but
it was the only time I was ever mad at you.
Well, so what happened was, I was one of the oldest guys there.
I forgot that you were
27.
Yes, you were the
28.
most responsible person involved. Everyone else had some excuse of being kind of immature or irresponsible.
I was just an idiot.
You.
I was an idiot.
He was not an idiot.
We had no. So
yes.
let me tell you, the point to this was this game was huge, and when the game launched, again, I'm going to go back to my ignorance of being a sports guy. So apparently, there were people playing after work on Rallis Zach PvP, and so they said, hey, let's all play together that night. Form the guild, Lollipop Guild.
Now, at the time, guilds were supposed to go through an approval process. So you submitted a guild charter, and Mike Hutchins, one of the developers, would review your charter, and if he agreed that it was legit and that you had a great name and it was very RP, then he would forward it to customer service, and we would come to you and we would create your guild. So I get petitions about a guild that no one had ever seen before of marauding PvPers all of a sudden.
Yeah, about level 20, 25. Running around a group of GMs after work and just teaming up and tag teaming and killing people.
Yep.
And I'm just like, all right, let's go. We're having a good time. Wow, this is easy.
I recall stories of rogues casting complete heal on themselves.
No, really?
And their party members at level 20, so mysterious guild, interesting names that couldn't be in the game.
Like
Archie Bunker.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. O.J. Simpson, I remember.
So on and so forth. And so I'm sitting there in my office, and I'm starting to field this stuff, and I'm getting emails, and the general level of customer alarm is rising exponentially. It's like a thermometer, right? And I'm like, something is amiss. What could be going on? And I go outside my office, and in the GM pit, people are screaming and yelling and running around and obviously having a lot of fun. And it was the GMs who were working after hours in what I think is the one and only instance of GMs kind of stretching the limits of their powers on one of the live servers.
Well, now I don't remember using like powers, but there probably were a few.
I don't think you did. Right?
I remember Smed saying, you know what? Posting. I think he answered some emails saying, "Nah, it's not happening, guys." Answering customers' messages like, "No, there's no way that this is going on."
Yes.
And then working with you, I think there's probably some sort of inquisition. And following day, I remember the following day, we called into this room, and I almost lost my job.
Yes.
And I'm in that room.
I'm
what
very
you say?
disappointed in you.
Yeah. Everybody was like, in that area was like 20, 21 years old, 22, and I'm like the old guy at 27, 28. And you guys are asking us questions. It was great. And nobody was saying a word. I'm like, all right, look, yeah, you're right. That was stupid for us to do. I didn't realize how we were affecting customers that way.
Which was great. The fact that you fessed up and you did the I'm the mature guy thing made a lot of difference. And
Wow.
you pulled those younger guys fat out of the fire because they were they were frozen. Because Smed and I were there and we're like, I want to know what you've done, because if there are customers who I have to apologize for, I'm going to go do that, and I'm going to be the one that takes it on the chin for something that you did wrong. And Thom stood up and said, hey, this was stupid, shouldn't have done it, will never happen again, I'll go delete the guild, we'll make it right. I don't think we did anything that we can't fix, but it'll never happen again. And the other guys just sat there and shook their heads wisely when Thom said that.
That was a real life stun.
Yes. And that was the end of it. And John just looked at me and said, make sure this stuff never happens again.
Do you or would you believe that was the last time that I played on Ralosec?
I just think, and again, like, this is not a story I've heard before, but I think just even then seeing how engaged Smed was, like engaged in the process and wanting to know. And here this weekend, or I mean, before this weekend, but on Twitter and on Reddit, and very engaged with our fans. Or during the welcome address, he stayed afterwards. He was talking to the couple that had come here to celebrate their anniversary with us and missed the prize, or that was 2 nights ago.
So most people wouldn't know. Smed used to log onto the servers when the developers at the time created the ability to become NPCs and to spawn NPCs in the game using your GM commands, because we wanted to run live quests and create live content. Smed would log on with a book of riddles and have people answer riddles that he was giving them. And I think he would then, even if they answered the questions, indiscriminately slay them. I mean, there was certain malfeasance going on his part.
How was that approved where we got smacked around, No,
but again, like, people were talking to me about this weekend. He was a giant gnome. He was like as big as like 50 characters would be stacked on top of each other. His name was just Smed.
He was the Skeleton King. He killed secretly and in many different ways. I'm sure. I'd seen specters chasing people down the beach in the desert of Ro. I'd seen various other unusual things. Never on a PvP server, and it was usually involving some form of role play. But it happened late at night, right? We'd be GMing late at night. Smed would be working overtime, and all of a sudden, I'd see a petition come by, like a hill giant killed me, like 500 alligators just swarmed to me I'm like, what's going on? Are people telling riddles in that zone? Yeah, there's riddles. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Is there a giant skeleton or a gnome like 50 feet high? Yeah. Okay, we know what's going on. Send a GM, quick.
Kenos Hills. Smed would come into the GM area, and he'd say, hey, do this command. Go to Kenos Hill, do this command. And I'm like, all right, you do it real quick, and there it is. There it is, a skeleton 50 feet tall in Kino seals with a level like 10, 11, 12, and yeah, just laying waste to everybody.
Yes.
It
Those were
was like whack-a-mole,
Those were the first dynamic quests, right? The Skeleton King didn't die until like everyone on the server had poked it a few times to finally kill it.
So it looks like we're getting ready to maybe do the reception pretty soon, the grand banquet, which will be streamed on Twitch TV/SOE. So while we have a few moments here before we get ready for that, is there anything else you guys want to say in closing?
It's just been a great opportunity to be here at SOE Live, to work with you guys, to see you again after a year. Looking forward to the next year. Remember, always approach us, always ask us questions, and engage us. It's what we're here for. It's like I said, it's the fuel that fires us. It keeps us delivering the game to you. If you want inspired products, you want something that pushes the envelope, keep talking to us about it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jeff said it really well. Yeah. It's just it's such an honor, and just so thrilled to be here. I'm not sure what we'll be doing next year. I'm sure yeah, I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, Jeff, you said it perfectly. Rosie as well. I'm thankful, to be working on a game like this for a company like this for so long, and being able to do, what I do in my off time because I have this great job that I work at. And, yeah, approach us and, share those stories. I think that's what's exciting, now that I can talk to everybody here about, almost getting fired. And
awesome story.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's been approved by legal to talk about yet, but oh well. Hey, maybe my day will come.
The other thing that I want to say, it's been awesome working with you guys over the years. And for those people who are on the development team who can't be here, because it's not like everyone at Sony Online Entertainment comes to SOE Live. We act as their ambassadors, and we try to carry back the goodwill that the players have. I wish they were all able to be here, but the thanks really goes to them. We have the good fortune of being able to sit here and interact with the players and talk to you. Those guys are back at work working, but they're the folks who are making stuff happen.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I get thanks a lot of times. Hey, great job. You guys are kicking ass. Good job. And I'm like, you know what? It's the team. It's not... I am part of the team, but really, they come up with the ideas, they come up with the creativeness, and I'm just, I'm helping them. I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure that they're doing anything that they want to do and get out of their way. But yeah, you're right.
They're the blood, sweat, and tears that make everything happen.
They're awesome. Yeah, I have to tip my hat off to them, and I thank you very much.
Yeah, this has been the Year of EverQuest stream, and we've been joined by Jeff, Rosie, and Thom, and got maybe a little bit of an inside peek with some of the development process for quite a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.